Hi everyone, and thank you for joining again. In this video I have another beautiful crochet bag for you, this one here, and I will show you step by step how you can make it yourself. For the bag I use this yarn here, and as usual you will find a detailed overview of all the materials that you need in the video description. So just click on more below the video and there you will find everything you need. We start our crochet bag. The first step, we will make this part here. And we start with our slip knot. And then we will make 30 chains. 30 chains. When you have 30 chains, I will only make a small swatch here, yours will be wider. When you have the 30 chains, you start in the second chain from the hook and go back all the way with single crochet. At the end of the row, chain 1, turn around, and again go back all the way with single crochet. At the end of the row, chain 1 again, turn around, and in the next row, which is row number 3, we start our pattern. We always start and end with a single crochet, and for the pattern stitch we poke in right below the single crochet. Draw a loop, pull it up to the edge and close. Now this pattern stitch replaces the next stitch that you can see here, this one, and then you make a single crochet in the following stitch. So just imagine that you are doing normal single crochet and each stitch you make is done in a stitch of the previous row. Now the pattern stitch, poke in below the single crochet, draw a loop, bring it up to the edge and close. If this was a normal single crochet, you would have done it in this loop here. So poke in the next stitch and make a single crochet. So every stitch needs one stitch of the previous row. At the end of the row, chain 1 again, turn around, and the pattern is now exactly the same. We start with a single crochet, then poke in right below the single crochet in this loop here, like this. Grab the yarn, bring it up to the edge, close the stitch. Now this would be the stitch you worked in if it was a normal single crochet, and poke it in the next stitch to make the next single crochet. So the pattern stitches are placed above each other and the single crochet are placed in the single crochets of the previous row. In total, you make 60 rows, and when you finish row 60, we will work along the sides of the crochet piece in these loops here, in the upper and lower loops that you can see there. These are the upper loops, and then in this lower loop here, upper loop, and so on. And we will make a single crochet in each of these loops. And as I said, I'm in row 60 here, and I already made my chain. This is where you poke in. This is an upper loop, and make a single crochet. Then poke in this lower loop here, this one. I think you can see it well. Then poke in this upper loop here again, like this. and in the lower again. And this is how you go on along this whole side here. Then in this corner here, this is the turning chain to row 1, this little loop here. Turning chain to row 1. There you make a single crochet, chain, single crochet. Then you go on along the lower side of the foundation chain. I think here it's clear how you poke in, like this. Make a single crochet in every loop. Then the next corner is this loop here, the loop of our slip knot. There you make single crochet, chain, single crochet. Then you have the upper and lower loops on the other side again. There you make a single crochet in each of these loops. Then you have this loop here, the turning chain to row 60. There you make again the corner pattern, single crochet, chain, single crochet, and then you work along the last side and meet me back here. Now this is how our crochet bag looks like now, and I always place the stitch marker in the corner chains. And we will now end this round. This is the chain from row 60 to the side, and this will be the loop where we make our last corner pattern. So I have to make 2 single crochets here. Now I'm at the chain that we made after row 60, and as I said, I will make a single crochet, chain, single crochet here, so that I have a corner pattern here as well. Now this is the first single crochet on the long side, and this is the second, and I will use this second stitch now because it gives me a nicer result. You can also try to use the first one, and what we will do now is you cut the thread, pull it through, and we end our round with a fake stitch. That means I poke in the second stitch here, pull the loop below it, the thread below it, and bring it back to the middle of the current stitch. And as I said, you can also try to make this in the first stitch. For my bag I didn't like the result, so I decided to make it in the second stitch. And as you can see here, we now have this nice loop here that looks like a normal single crochet and beautifully ends this round. So this is the loop that we just made. And now you can weave in the loose end. Now let's quickly take the measurement of this piece. It's about 31 centimeters long and about 17 centimeters wide. Or 16.5 roundabout. Now I already marked 10 stitches here. Which is roundabout 5 centimeters. And the 10 stitches that I said are including the stitch markers. And they have to be as wide as the lock, and always remember that the lock grabs a little bit around the crochet bag, so the hole that we make now has to be a tiny bit smaller than the outer dimension of the lock. And make sure that it's placed in the middle of the flap, of course. And then we will attach the thread in the stitch marker that is here on the left side now. To attach the thread, you poke in the back loop of this stitch where the stitch marker is in. Draw a loop to the front. Then chain 1 and go on with single crochet in the back loop only. And as you can see here, I always work the first stitches around the loose end of the thread. And for the rest of the frame we will now always work back loop only. As soon as you reach the corner, you make the corner pattern again, which is single crochet, chain, single crochet. And this is of course what you do in every corner. And on the sides, you always work single crochet one on one. And you go on until you reach the second stitch marker for the lock. This is how our bag looks like now. And when you reach the second stitch marker of the lock, you just chain 1, turn around and go back all the way in the same way, which means you make single crochet, back loop only, and in all the corners you make the corner pattern, single crochet, chain, single crochet in every corner chain. In this way, you make 4 rounds in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second one was the one we just started, and in total you make 4 of these rows. Always single crochet, back loop only, and corner pattern in the corner chain. Now, to close this hole here, we will make 8 chains . And then we make a slip stitch in this turning chain here on the opposite side. And now you can just cut the thread . Pull it through and then weave in the loose end. Now you can attach the thread anywhere you like. I will attach it here. Again in the back loop only, so be aware that you poke in the right direction. Chain 1. This was my cat, maybe you heard her. And then again you go on with single crochet in the back loop only, and make corner pattern in the corner. This is how our crochet bag looks like now. And I will now make my last corner pattern. Single crochet, chain, single crochet, and now I will end the row with a fake stitch again, which means I cut the thread, pull it through, and I will now make the fake stitch in the first single crochet. So this is the chain where we attached the thread, and this is the first single crochet. And this is where I make my fake stitch. and afterwards you can weave in the loose thread. In this way, I will now make 2 further rows. So this is my fake stitch. Now place the bag in the right direction again. And again, attach the thread in the back loop of any stitch you like. And as I said, we need 2 further rows in the very same scheme that we did in the last row. So single crochet, back loop only, and corner pattern in every corner chain. And then you end the row with a fake stitch and attach the thread again. This is how our crochet bag looks like now, and we made the first round after row 60 of the main part of the woven single crochet part, and then starting with the hole for the lock, there are 7 further rows for the frame. So depending on how you count, if you count this very first row or not, we have 7 to 8 rows for the frame. And this whole part is 37 centimeter times 23 centimeters. This is the bottom of the bag, and I started with 16 chains, then made 15 single crochet per row and 43 rows in total. And I haven't cut the thread here, but we go on, and the size of the bottom should now be, if you place it on this side on the edge, you should now have round about the height of 1 row single crochet left on the other side. And it is 8 centimeter deep. To go on, we will now again work in the upper and lower loops along the side of the bottom. I don't make a chain here, but I go on in this upper loop here. You know them already. And we place 1 single crochet in each of them. And in this way, you go on along this whole side. You don't make an increase here. And then you go on along the lower side of the foundation chain. This is how the bottom looks like. We now have 3 sides with single crochet. No increase here. I already chained 1. And now you turn like this. And we will now work in the front loop only. This is how you poke in and make a single crochet. Front loop only. Single crochet. Front loop only. Single crochet. And this is what you do for all 3 sides where we have single crochet, because in this way the sides will bend up like this, and this is what we want to have to start the body of our bag. This is how our bottom looks like after the first row. And now we just chain 1, which I already did here, turn around, and now we work normal single crochet again, which means we poke in both loops again. And in this way you now just work in rows of single crochet in both loops, back and forth. And this is how the bag bottom or body will grow. And in the corners you don't make any increase. What you can do is that you can loosen your tension a little here, but no increase. In total I made 24 rows, and this is how our bag body looks now. 24 rows. Already chained 1 here. And you don't cut the thread, but we will go on with slip stitches. And since you won't see it well as soon as this is stitched on, I just quickly show you. You have these upper and lower loops here again, and these are also the ones that we will use for our slip stitches. So you know these loops already, just to show them to you. They look exactly the same like we already had. Now to go on, grab some stitch markers and the main part of the bag, and I will quickly secure my loop here so that it can't open. And now you take the back side of the main part and place it on the back body like this. And then you clip it in place with your stitch markers. And I always begin with the corners. and just clip them in place here. And then you can use some further stitch markers on the sides so that everything is fixed. And always take your time here so that it's really in place. And this is how it looks like then. And as I said, take your time here, make sure that everything is properly placed. And to fix the main part to the body, we will now go on with slip stitches. Now what I will do in the next step, just pointing out my chain here, what I will do in the next step is wrong, because I poke in the wrong direction. Okay, it's blurred so you don't see anything, which is good here. As I said, this is wrong. Just ignore what I'm doing here. And now I notice that my thread is on the wrong side. Yes. Okay. Now it is important. Poke in. Hold your bag like this. And then poke in. I will show it to you. Like this. So I poked in the upper loop of the body. And then in the back loop of the single crochet on the main part. Yes, I know it's a little blurred here, but I will show it to you. Then poke in the lower loop and in the main part like this. This is the upper loop again, then poke in the main part. Basically I'm poking in these back loops here, always. I think you can see it well here. And then make a slip stitch. So these loops here. This is the next one I use. Poking in the lower loop and the one that I showed. And then you always make slip stitches. So the best tip I can give you here is just don't overthink what you are doing. Poke in the loops that you can reach good. They don't necessarily are placed next to each other very well, but then just poke in where you can reach. This is totally fine. Just don't overthink here. So let's have a close-up of the loops here. This one is the next where I poke in, and then this one on the main part, then the upper loop here, this one on the main part, this lower loop here, this one on the main part, and so on. Just poke in like this and make slip stitches. And in this way you go around all 3 sides of the bag. In the end, this is how it looks like then. And you just cut the thread, pull it through and weave it in. To attach the lock, you just open these little screws here. Then place these 2 parts from both sides in the hole that we made. And then you can just fix the screws again and the lock is fixed. The lower part of the lock has these spikes here. These spikes here. You just poke them through the bag. Check where it has to be placed. Maybe close it. And then poke the spikes through your bag. Normally you have a little metal plate that you place above these spikes, and then you just bend them around on the inside and the lower part of the lock is fixed. For the handle, you start with 4 chains, then you make 3 single crochet per row, 2 rows where you make only single crochet, and then you start the pattern that we know from the main part. And you have 1 single crochet, 1 pattern stitch and 1 single crochet per row. And you end without a chain. And then just place this handle around the ring. Use the loose end of the thread to sew it on like this. And then your handle is finished. To fix the handle on the back, I will fix it in this place here between the main part and the frame. And you just squeeze it like this, the main part. And then you can just poke the ring through the flap. If you like to use bag feet, this is how they look like. They also have these little spikes. And again, you just poke them through the bag. Then you bend these spikes around on the inside, and here you actually also have a metal plate that you have to place above these spikes first. And then they are fixed. This is my D-ring fixation, and I left a long tail here. Started with 5 chains, made 4 single crochet per row, and 32 rows in total. Then you place the D-ring like this and use the loose thread to sew it in place again. And then you take this whole part and sew it to the side of your bag. And that's it. I hope you like your new bag, and if you like the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any question left, just drop me a comment and I try to answer everything.